you've downgraded the threat level 1 point.
Yes.
And we hear that a large part of the group around this terrorist have been apprehended and taken. Does that mean that some of the group are still out there?
Potentially. I mean, it's an ongoing operation. There are 11 people in custody. The operation is still at full tilt in a way, and so until the operation is complete, we can't be entirely sure that it's closed.
Now, clearly, as you said, the security services do a great job and all the rest of it. Nonetheless, there are questions that must be asked. Can I ask you how many times the security services were tipped off about Salman Abedi before he attacked?
Well, it's not for me to be drawn in on what the intelligence services did or didn't know, particularly at this stage, Andrew.
Well, the trouble is we do know some stuff about this.
We do, but the fact is this is an ongoing operation. The fact that you've already asked me, are there other people that are going to be potentially pursued? That is because of the strong relationship between the intelligence services and the counter-terrorism policing. Of course, people will want to look afterwards to see whether there are signals that could have been learnt. How could we do this better? But can I also point out that since 2013, they have foiled 18 separate plots. They do a good job. We're not frightened, though, of learning lessons and improving.
I don't want in any way to diminish what they do. Nevertheless, what we do know is that Salman Abedi was identified as a dangerous man by friends and family, his community doing exactly what we asked them to do. They phoned the terror hotline 5 years ago and then again last year. We know that the imam in his local mosque used the prevent strategy again to get in touch and say this guy is out of control, he's dangerous, and apparently nothing happened. Can I ask you directly, was Salman Abedi on a surveillance list?
I don't know those details that you've just said out to me because the intelligence services are still collecting information about him and about the people around him. But I wouldn't rush to conclusions, as you seem to be, that they've somehow missed something.
I'm simply saying that people had phoned the terror hotline, as they're told to do.
As they should do, as they should do. And this, you know, the reason we've put in place the terror hotline, the reason we've put in place the prevent strategy is because we recognise the scale of the problem. What this reminds us, if we needed reminding, is the scale of the problem that we have. The enemy that we have, Daesh, that is trying to weaponise the young people in our society. We have put in place measures to make sure we can protect us, but we have been at severe, as I said, for a number of years, which is a threat, an attack is highly likely. But we will look to see what else we can do, which is why the Prime Minister has announced, actually in our manifesto before this event, that there would be a commission for extremism, to see what else we can do to root out extremism, to put legislation in place, if we need to make sure we take action to stop extremism taking root in our society.
I guess the problem with the manifesto is that it now reads a bit like, inevitably, a pre-Manchester manifesto. You're going to have a commission, there's lots of perhapses and maybes and pushing things forward and talking and so forth. It doesn't necessarily have the urgency that a lot of people feel is necessary after the Manchester attack.
This government has always felt that urgency. That's why we've been putting additional money, additional resources, and that's why also, I mean, it is significant that the Commission for Extremism that is in the manifesto was put in before Manchester. We know we need to do more. We recognise the scale of the threat, and that's one of the actions we're taking.
Across the country, how many serious potential jihadis are we worried about?
Well, the numbers have been confirmed by MI5 that they're looking at 500 different plots, 3,000 on a sort of top list, and then 20,000 underneath that. But that's all different layers, different tiers. You know, it might be just a question mark about one of them or something serious at the top of the top list.
I suppose what I'm wondering is the question about whether Abedi was red-flagged or not at some point in the last few years may simply be because there are so many plots, so many people that they have to look at. One thing you could decide to do after Manchester is a step change in the size of MI5. You could double it. You could spend money that's being spent on Trident or something else and put it into this. Have you considered that?
We won't shy away from finding out what else we can do to keep people safe. I mean, the budget has already gone up significantly. We're recruiting 1,900 people for MI5. But, you know, we will look at this in a way to learn from it, to make sure that we keep people safe going forward. So if there is a need for more recruitment or more security or more armed vehicles, which we're investing in as well, we will look at doing that.
And if you win this general election and go back to the Home Office as Home Secretary, will it be business as usual with the Prime Minister and the Chancellor when it comes to budgets? Or are you going to say, look, we need to change this completely, we need a much, much bigger budget for this?
Well, can I just point out, from 2015 to 2020, we agreed to uplift the budget from 11 billion to 15 billion. But we will make sure that we put the right resources in to keep people safe, always.